Welcome back. The World Bank is putting a hold on new development support for Mozambique after the government was shown to have hidden off budget more than $1 billion in debt. The bank says it wants to review Mozambique's finances following the revelations.
Earlier this month, the International Monetary Fund suspended aid to Mozambique over the debt. On Tuesday, the country said most of the debt had been used to fund maritime security and shipyards. Mozambique is one of the 10 poorest countries in the world. For more on this, we are now joined on the line by economist Kanti Pai. Kanti, good evening and thank you so much for joining us. Now, first things first, Mozambique has blamed the country's instability for a government decision to hide $1.4 billion of debt that they used to fund maritime security vessels. Is this a valid excuse?
Good evening. Look, I think it's actually quite interesting because I suppose in one sense, it might really well be one of the aggravating factors in terms of this problem, because if you're saying you're unstable, the one thing you want to make sure is that everything is out and clear, and that your lenders are not actually sort of caught up in a situation in which they feel things are unstable and that you don't even know what's going on within your own country. So it's not a very helpful one, but certainly unless they were saying we are looking for help, because I think even if that were one of the issues, one of the things that funders want to do is to assess and help in terms of capacity building, if that's a big issue. So I would not think at all that that's actually a valid argument in help of the Mozambique case.
Now, Kanti, has the World Bank reacted correctly in the sense that the responsibility on the part of a financer and lenders to carry out due diligence when offering aid in these circumstances, the reaction to hold back, is this the right way to go about it?
Look, I think one of the problems, of course, in these situations, and I think it's true of all funders, whether it's a personal funder or one in this case where it's actually a whole country, is that you don't know what you don't know. So, many of these deals are not available in terms of public information. They tend to be very private information. They are done in different kinds of structures. So many times you would not be able to have full access to everything. Some of the debt, for example, is with private funders. Some of it will be with banks. Some of it will be, in the bond markets, where many times you need actually the country itself or the state to be very frank and open about what it is that they have in terms of their books, in debt, even in assets. So it's very difficult for a funder to know everything and to understand and to be private to all information. Some of the information is available frankly and openly in the market. Other information is usually through, private funding, and that is very difficult to find out even with the due diligence. And so it's very difficult. So the way they have to react, obviously, is to say, look, we actually take this very seriously, and it's probably to put other countries and other parties on notice to say an infraction like this will put you in negative state. If you do things negatively in this way, or you act in this way, then the bank or the institution will actually put in punitive measures to try and stop people from behaving in that manner.
Now, what happens to the Mozambican economy now after the IMF, the World Bank and other financiers are putting a hold on a new development aid? Where to now for Mozambique?
But I think it's a terrible kind of situation for them, particularly given that they do need the funding. They are developmental states. There have been some disappointments along the way in terms of them being finally independent, in terms of obviously the minerals that have been found, developing the economy, making sure that they're on a sustainable basis. Remember, countries, institutions like the IMF and the World Bank are also institutions where other funders who are looking to go, other investors who are looking to go to invest or to provide financing look to, in terms of saying, if the IMF has a program there, if the World Bank has a program there, then we can feel a little bit more secure about any kind of work that we do. So they tend to provide a lot of security. They tend to provide a lot of confidence for other funders, for other developmental partners, because of the kind of information they have and also the kind of support that they give. And so this is not a great development for Mozambique, because it will affect the relationships they may have had or they might even have in the future with other institutions or funders or investors.
speaking of the future, let's go back to 2013 when Mozambique was in trouble, accused of using 500 million US dollars of an 850 million euro bond meant for buying tuna fishing boats on police vessels and other security equipment. Can such future errors and misinformations be avoided, and how do they do that?
I think it's difficult. I think one of the interesting things here is that, as we know, the World Bank and the IMF, these institutions have also been accused of being too prescriptive. That they actually sort of tend to get very involved in terms of the countries that they help, and they prescribe things sometimes that are unfavorable for the country. So in one sense, people give them this criticism, and they try and sort of hold back in terms of how they must watch every dollar or that they give. To say, look, we want to trust people, to trust countries, to trust nation states and governments to do what they want to do in terms of their system. So that's the one part that, that criticism is probably one sensitive area in terms of prescribing and then following up. But another one is to say perhaps that it is necessary in certain countries, certain states that have misbehaved. But certainly, even though you want to be able to do that, it does come with a negative attitude from those who criticize those institutions in terms of the work that they do and the way they actually work with especially African countries.
Now, Klanti, let's speak of the fact that analysts are saying that Mozambique has spent much of the last decade borrowing against the future. Now, the debts now are coming due, but the natural gas that was supposed to pay for the multi-billion-dollar loans is yet to come online. Has the country overextended itself?
I mean, this is a huge problem, I think, that we've been seeing in many developing economies, especially in African states. We know we saw something similar in Ghana when they were expecting oil and they thought they were going to have all this oil revenue, and they started borrowing and they increased their costs and they went and and multiplied public service salaries and all these things. And then when the money didn't come through, it got them into a lot of trouble financially. And so we know, for example, that Ghana at this point has all these fiscal problems. They certainly have currency problems as a result. And so it's a critical problem that African states have to manage very well. But of course, we all plan our spending according to our future revenue rather than our current revenue. But we've got to really, really be very careful about that. It's even one of the things that South Africa is dealing with right now, to say, look, we're looking for growth in the next coming years. So how much you spend depends on that, how much you borrow depends on that. But we have to be very careful because that growth may not come, those revenues may not come, and we could end up in these very, very difficult and dangerous fiscal situations. And I think this is a very, very big lesson for many of governments and states on the continent and anywhere else in the developing world.
Klanti, thank you so much for joining us. That's where we have to leave it for now. That was economist Klanti Pai joining us on the line.